Hi, I'm Freddie
And I'm Chantel,
from His
hers
Marriage.
marriage.
Once again, we are so excited. This is part two. And Chantel, what is the segment we're discussing now?
Well, we're still talking about resolving conflicts within marriage. And as Freddie mentioned, this is part two of this series. And so we're going to go and dive into some topics. And because we want to basically break it up into 3 to 4 sessions to be
Yes,
able to take our time and explain each area because it's so much as relates to this subject matter of conflicts, because that
yes.
seems to be the common ground that is really attacking a lot of couples today. So, the first topic we're going to talk about is to agree to disagree.
That's very important in within a relationship because we as couples often we have the desire to be right,
Mhm.
and we don't want to give in to our spouse and admit, most often my wife, my queen is normally she's right more than I am. And so it's harder for me as a man sometimes to what come compromise within that disagreement.
Right, right. And so the thing is that in a relationship, both people at some point can be wrong, and there's nobody that's always right. And so beg to differ. So sometimes I am wrong, and vice versa. So yes.
Yes.
But when we say agree to disagree, and basically, when you have opinionated ideas, you know, you and your spouse is not going to view things the
Mhm.
same way, because you can see something and I may see it a different way, and then Freddie may see it a different way.
Mhm.
And then instead of me trying to win him over to the way I see it, we just have to, or vice versa, we just have to come to a point that we just have to realize that we're not going to agree on this,
Yes.
and that's fine. And then we leave away respecting each other's viewpoints. And so when it concerns opinionated
Mhm.
ideas, oftentimes you may have to just agree to disagree and go forward. But we do encourage couples with major decisions, you need
Mhm.
to come to a middle ground. Basically, the best way to do is to create a pros and a cons chart of what each person believes.
And this is going back to our first portion we talked about, and I spoke ahead. It's about writing it down. This is where you go in and you write the pros and the cons to what you believe at that moment could be the definitive result of making that decision. And Chantel, explain what in detail what we're talking about, listing the pros and the cons.
Yes. Well, each spouse can pull from the pro side and agree on each person can agree on their say in the final decision, thus meeting in the middle. And so, we the thing is that in this process, you can't be selfish,
Mhm.
and you have to be willing to respect that other
Mhm.
person's view in the situation. I'm gonna give you an example. It was one time when Freddie and I we was trying to decide whether or not, I think one of us we wanted to pay off a bill versus, I think the other person we wanted to spend that extra money and going out to dinner. And so it was like, well, you know what, we need to pay off this bill, but we hadn't been out to eat in a while. So we was trying to decide on what to do. And so what we did a chart on the advantages of the long term and short term.
Yes.
And so we knew that long term paying off the bill would be better for us financially, but at the same time, short term, we needed some time together. And so it was like, okay, well, what we're going to do here. So what we ended up deciding to basically appease both
Yeah.
of us, we still paid off the bill, and then we realized we had some extra money.
Mhm.
So instead of going out to eat, we decided to create a romantic dinner at home and use that the remaining money to create that at the house rather than going out to a more expensive restaurant. So basically, we both end up getting what we want in the end. And so that's how we came to that middle ground.
Yes, and in that process, we learn a unique historical event that we can recall all these years.
Yes.
It's something so much memorable that we was initially we were at odds. I was like, oh no, no, we're gonna pay our bills. And she's like, well, we're going to live too. We're going to go out and eat. We haven't been out. You haven't taken me out.
Yeah.
And to have the ability to have the same or similar effect
Mhm.
right here in our home, candlelight, the same menu as if we were at a fancy restaurant. We had in our home, and so there's a memorable moment, and we did not lose. No, either of us lost our opinion.
Correct.
We both shared our opinion, and we had valid reasons for establishing our disagreement
Right.
within
Right.
marriage.
Exactly.
And so most often couples have those disagreements and they don't want to sit back and look at the real facts. What if we go this route?
Right, right. And something, and even in the process, we ended up saving money by having the dinner home. And
Mhm.
it actually was seemingly more memorable because we actually got in the kitchen, cooked the meal and everything. And so it definitely was a more memorable moment, I
Yes.
think, in the long run. And so yes, we definitely at first we didn't see eye to eye on the
Mhm.
situation, but we ended up coming to a middle
Yeah.
ground in that. And so now Freddie, he did mention about write it down. There's another side to that as well, because oftentimes, sometimes if it's hard for you to express
Mhm.
yourself to your spouse, we found by writing letters,
Yes.
because then when Freddie would write a letter to me or I would write a letter to him, that gave him an opportunity to just to dissect what I was saying
Mhm.
and really, it was like, okay, now I see what she
Mhm.
means. And that took away that emotion, that took away that
That's right.
tension while it's going back and forth. So that is something we encourage couples to do. Sometimes if you can't talk it out, write it down and
Mhm.
give each other letters and allow each other to process those concerns.
Yes, and one of the things I was thinking about the two circles. When
Mhm.
you have two circles and you have your opinion, have my opinion, and it shouldn't be that battle, but when you come together, they're going to overlap.
Mhm.
What's in the middle is what you both feel comfortable that
Mhm.
you both can accomplish together.
Right.
The enemy wants the circle not to overlap. He
Yeah.
wants a circle over here, a circle over here, and the enemy
Like
sitting in the middle
division.
laughing said, you are fussing and disagreeing about something that is so small.
Right. Right.
And we have to say, how are we going to bring that together? And it
Mhm.
looks more like what? A heart.
Mhm.
Because you're opening up yourself and you're not being what? Selfish. And so, Chantel, will you talk about that?
Yes, yes. Like Freddie said, when you're in the process of trying to come together in the middle, definitely you have to take away selfishness in the process,
Mhm.
because if you're all about what you feel and not really being open to what your spouse is saying, with two selfish people, you will never really come
Yeah.
to a middle ground. And so sometimes you have to be willing to just say, okay, you know what, I'm
Mhm.
really, I'm understanding maybe what you're saying, and then the other person, well, I understand what you're saying, and then like Freddie said, that those circles, instead of you being on totally two different ends, as you come more and more together, you become one, and it becomes one circle rather than two divided entities. So yes, that is very important to deny and do away with the selfishness. And also something that, which is scripturally based, that love is not easily angered or offended. Being angry is a choice, not a given right. You know how
Mhm.
people say, "Oh, I have the right to be angry." Not really. It's a you're choosing
To
to be
maintain.
angry, and so just like you choose to be angry, you can choose not to be,
Yes.
and not just automatically go to that. Oh, I have the right. I have the right, and and then you just continue on in that emotion, and you're not going to get anywhere in your relationship.
Yes. And oftentimes, couples become angry when they feel that their voice is not being heard.
True. That's true.
They became angry because they felt that you always got your way. You always felt that you was right and I was wrong. That's when the enemy, that's the device of the enemy. The enemy
Right.
comes in to bring that anger and frustration because you said, my voice is not being received.
Mhm.
And that's maybe the farthest from the truth,
Right.
but it's the understanding from the initial question.
That is true. And that is true. And we think about it, we are quicker to give mercy, which is forgiveness, and withholding punishment to others before we're willing to give it to our spouse. And we have a friend, it's like, nah, our friend, my girlfriend, I can't stay. And we're quicker to give mercy and forgiveness to other people
Mhm.
than we are to our own spouse. We
Mhm.
want to hold on to grudges, and we want to hold on. We want them to almost like, by holding on to it, we want to get them back.
Mhm.
And that's not getting you anywhere. And we're not extending that heart of
Mhm.
forgiveness. And somehow we want to punish them
Yes.
for what they've done or how they've made us upset. But how is that really getting your head ultimately in your relationship? It's not.
And one more in this segment is check marks.
Mm-hmm.
We should not be marking checks and say, "Yep, I got you." Now I'm gonna remember that. I'm like, "Oh, yep, I got you. You messed up.
Yep,
That was a bad decision on your behalf. Now you're at fault." That's when the enemy wants to come in and destroy your relationship.
that's true.
And Chantel, let's go to our last segment for
Yes, our
part
last
two.
last part. When couples allow conflict to overtake their homes, you're weakening the foundation of your covenant, purpose, and potential legacy. And now you're hearing the common term now for divorcing is irreconcilable differences, which is the inability to agree on most things or on important things. So that tells you that conflict ultimately can lead to divorce
Mhm.
and can lead to those differences.
Mhm.
And then, it weakens the foundation of your relationship. And so we have to make sure that we nip a lot of these conflicts in the bud when they start, and so that it won't take root
Mhm.
and lead to divorce.
And that's what's happening in society now. They say we couldn't get along. We couldn't agree upon anything. We were going in different directions, and the enemy comes to destroy. And what Chantel she broke down says weakening the foundation
Right,
of the covenant that
right,
you made before God and man.
right.
And when there's friction there, there's like an earthquake. It just start cracking. You may not see it evidently. It may not be there visually, but spiritually, it started weakening of that foundation, and you begin to pull apart, and you wonder why there's houses that are unbalanced
Right.
because they allow something to affect the foundation that probably took time
Mm-hmm.
to develop. It didn't happen overnight. It
Right,
was developed over time. And she talked about the purpose and the potential legacy.
right,
The enemy wants to destroy your legacy,
right.
the relationship that God has placed in your life for your offspring, your children, your family, your friends. And so it's a powerful thing when you don't allow the Holy Spirit to keep you connected
Right.
and not disconnect yourself from God. So I'm going to say this last thing right here. This is my spirit. The, the story of the gentleman on the canoe. He was sitting out and he was sitting in the middle of the ocean, the lake, what have you. But he began to be compromised mentally. He looked at something different and said, "No, nah, that's not really what it is." And he realized he was so far from shore. That's what happens to most couples. When they have disagreement, they just say, "I don't want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Leave me alone. It'll work itself out." And when
Right.
you look back and you see that you so far from shore, you so far from your spouse
Yeah.
and relationship with God, that's when you're in a panic mode. And that's when most couples say, "I'm so far out, we so far apart, I want to go on and get a divorce."
Mm-hmm. And the thing is that oftentimes when you think about a canoe or something drifting out, it's a gradual thing.
Mhm.
It doesn't happen overnight.
That's right.
And so a lot of times when those conflicts are not dealt with, it gradually within your heart
Mhm.
pulls you
Mhm.
apart. And you have to understand that when you came together,
Mhm.
it was for a purpose,
That's right.
it was for a reason. And sometimes we have to go back and reflect, what was the purpose of us
That's
coming
right.
together?
That's right.
So that's why we encourage, don't allow the enemy to steal the purpose and your potential legacy through conflicts. Yeah.
Conflict within marriage is
Yes.
real.
Yes.
Don't let no one tell you otherwise. It happens. But you know
Right.
what? I love sometimes having conflict with Chantel because they, it determines our true who we are and
Right.
what we meant to be. Because iron sharpens iron,
Right.
and we are the ones that are sharper than iron. Because we may get upset about something today and laugh about it tomorrow
Right.
because it's for a purpose. You
Right.
said, you talked about it.
Right.
It's for a purpose, but we should not allow that to affect our relationship.
And I just want to say one other thing. I really like what you said when you said iron sharpens iron. And so there's things that I have to allow myself to be open to receive from you,
Mhm.
and vice versa.
Yeah.
We're so quick to receive from other people,
Yes.
but there's certain gifts and certain things that God placed in your spouse to help you get rid of some things. And so, because they're the closest to you, so
Yeah.
that iron sharpens iron only purifies you in the end. Like I said, when you put something in fire, that takes off the imperfections.
All right, now watch out now. Well, we're so excited. We're looking forward to our next segment. And we want to say thank you for all of you that click like,
Yes.
thumbs up, and share. And we received so much information from singles, from engaged. And so we're going to be coming back
Yes.
with
Yes, some things
videos
for singles.
for
Yeah.
singles
And dating.
and
Yeah.
dating.
Yeah.
And so we're excited and we're looking forward to continuing this series. And so we have 3 or 4
Yes.
that's coming up because we're so excited. So if you have any questions or comments, reach out to us at our email,
Right.
johnsoninspirations@gmail.com.
Yes.
And so we're looking forward to our next segment.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. So remember to click like and share. Do not hesitate to do that.
All right. We're signing off from His
Hers
Marriage. Thank you.
Thank you.